Evelyn to Philip, January 17th, 1944, V-mail. Precious. Yours of December 27th and January 7th arrived simultaneously. As you say, unpredictable are the ways of the post office. The latter made me feel unusually good. Naturally, most of it complimented me. I don't have to tell you how much it means to me to have you think so highly of my literary sufficiency. I find it easier after daily practice to say what I wish with the words most expressive of my thoughts. I guess practice makes perfect, huh? Besides, I find myself taking more than a passing interest in writing. The clipping from S&D's extract with the news that Mark is also in England sounds good. Hope you get to see a familiar face soon. I changed Adele's routine a bit today by bathing her after lunch, and then she took her afternoon nap. You ought to see Adele walk around this place. She's in every nook and cranny and doesn't miss a trick. A tiny thread or a piece of dirt never escapes her attention. She does all her tricks if she likes the person requesting them. She looks good enough to eat when she rolls on the floor like a puppy or shows her pretty dress to someone. She sings on request and never tires of dancing. She looks mighty pretty, all in rose. I'm wearing my blue wool. Also received a letter from Sid. He can't get over the fact, as everyone else, that Adele is such a replica of her daddy. One face is what they all say. He received that charming snap I sent and my package. I love you, baby. Your Ev. The bottom line is cut off by the V-mail and can't be read. At the top, P.S. Ray's candy is delicious, and I hope to mail it off tomorrow with the hankies. Philip to Evelyn, January 17th, 1 p.m. Ev, dearest, only a few hours now before I must catch the train back to camp, and there is much I haven't told you. Looking back, it isn't easy to set down events in their proper sequence, so I'll just touch on the high spots. I finally got around to seeing a musical comedy. It was Strike a New Note. It is a variety show, the cast being largely made up of kids of 16 or 17. The action is fresh and sparkling, and the music is largely jive. The dancing is fast and furious, as is everything about the show, except the comedian, Sid Field. He holds forth for a full half hour on his first appearance. He takes his time all right, but he is so excruciatingly funny that the audience didn't care if he never left the stage. He has a delicious sense of humor. Pardon, humor, H-U-M-O-U-R. And his timing kept the audience laughing almost every moment of his tenure on stage. The glamour kid of the show is Zoe Gale, a tall, talented, sweet-faced young thing with long red-brown hair. But the specialty which brought the house down was page 2, Evelyn Goofy Barr, the Czech Spitfire, singing and clowning Long Live Me. She is a shorty with an animated monkey face and a body of a miniature Venus. But those gams, yeah man. Wonder what there is about the name of Evelyn that endows the owner with nether limbs of such remarkable beauty. I could write and write about the show, sweet, but time is short, so I'll just say it was swell, and I enjoyed myself very much indeed. The rest of the time was taken up with just plain loafing and reading at the Hans Crescent, seeing a movie, Albert Hall, and the West London Synagogue. The movie was And the Angels Sing with B. Hutton, Dee L'Amour, a couple of other cute chicks whose names escape me, F. McMurray, E. Foy Jr., Raymond Walburn, and a more hilarious comedy and pleasing musical I haven't seen for a long, long time. The high spot, of course, is Hutton's singing of When Junior's Walking Horse Wan Away. If Hutton is a fad, then she is very far from palling, believe me. I enjoyed her clowning fully as much or more than I did in Moiders, he says. Remember? The other angels are as pleasing to the ears as they are to, page 3, the eyes. The baby of the family combines the face of an angel with the biting sarcasm of a spinster, and the combination is designed to tickle, and it does. If you want a good laugh, honey, see this one. Friday evening, after hunting about a good bit, I finally managed to find my way to the synagogue. It was a novelty in more ways than one. Listen, a low-ceilinged room, indirect lighting, severe modernistic paneling in ivory and gold, a melodeon in the center of the floor, people, about 30 of them, sitting along the four walls on long straight-backed benches, women and men intermingled, singing to the music of the melodeon, Sunday school fashion. 4 elderly women dominating the singing, with 4 beautiful bell-like voices. Then the rabbi preaching in English, lapsing from time to time into Hebrew with a limey accent, I swear it. After a half hour of this surprising tableau, services were at an end, and a moment later I was out in the cold, dark, damp London night, wondering if I hadn't dreamed it all. It was so unreal. Page 4. Saturday evening, I came back to the Hans Crescent from the Angels Sing to find the ballroom jumping. So I killed the rest of the evening sitting and watching the dancers and tapping my toes to the very nifty music and wishing, oh so very much, that you were there for me to dance with. Baby, when I think of the good times I passed up, I guess I could have danced, and I won't deny I wanted to, but the hell of it is, I wanted so much to dance with you that I have no stomach for dancing with just anyone. So I just sit and tap my toes and keep wishing. Occasionally, among the dancers, I seem to recognize a suggestion of your face or a reasonable facsimile of your ever-loving legs, and my heart skips a beat, and the lump comes up, and I slink off to bed feeling very blue indeed. Which brings me to Sunday and Albert Hall. You've heard about London fog, no doubt. Well, yesterday we really had it. It was so thick that it was impossible to see beyond your outstretched hand. In this eerie atmosphere, then, I walked to the hall, since it can't be reached via the tube. Page 5, and taxis are downright dangerous and impractical in the impenetrable mists. Walking was the only alternative. After a half hour's groping in a world that seemed to be entirely populated by me, I found Albert Hall. It was just 2:30 and time for the concert to begin. When I took my seat in the grand circle, I looked around at the immensity of the building. I was surprised to find that the fog had penetrated into the hall. Although it was not nearly as thick as on the outside, the mist made the stage and podium appear very far away and indistinct. It was an all Beethoven program, and while I am not partial to this music, it was far from displeasing. When it came time for the soloist, Ida Handel, to appear, the manager took the podium long enough to announce that Miss Handel had been held up by the fog and would play the finale. The audience, about 8,000 I should say, greeted the announcement with roars of laughter. Seems the London fog is a standing joke for the English. I don't get it. The lengthy page 6, Eroica is exciting and tranquil at intervals, and the very able Lewis Cohen conducted with a fine appreciation and a great sensitivity for the various shadings of the music. After the intermission, during which I chatted with a white-haired gentleman sitting next to me, Ida Handel. Picture her, very diminutive, as she walks slowly, violin and bow in hand, to stand beside the podium. Soft, thick, raven hair collecting on her shoulders, standing very straight, as if to add to her scant 5 feet nothing. Full-breasted, well-rounded arms and shoulders just a shade lighter than the full-skirted, ivory and gold evening dress. She stands once the orchestra starts the prelude, very demurely, head a little bowed, squarely facing the stalls. Then, in one motion, the violin is tucked under her chin, and half facing the podium, and standing as still as if carved from the ivory she seems to be made of, she plays. The effect is astounding. From the very first note, the audience is in a trance. The only living and breathing thing in that vast place seems to be the tiny figure of Miss Handel, motionless except for the gracefully flowing 7 bow and arm, and the incredibly swift fingers of the left hand. She plays tenderly, sweetly, with the song of the violin, a woman's whispered caress. Suddenly the mood changes, and she fills the utmost corners with the swelling, impetuous tones of a man in rage. And so it goes through all 3 movements of the concerto. She makes a magic thing of the small wooden contrivance. She fills the very soul of the listener with tenderness, then anger, then contrition, with all the gamut of the emotions between. Through it all she is a graven image, and the 8,000 sit almost breathless at the portals of so much beauty. When the last note has flown, the audience sits tranquil a moment, figuratively licking its lips. Then, as if with a single accord, wild acclamation, the walls resound with the plaudits of the admiring mob. The tiny artist 4 times acknowledges with a slight nod and an even slighter smile the frenzied thanks, and another memory is tucked away among those very special ones of yours ever lovingly. And now my holiday is over, sweet, and I must hie myself back to the mud and muck and good food for a change of my post. I close this with the earnest hope that my writings convey in some small measure some of the good things that were mine on this furlough, and knowing them can gain some of my satisfaction for yourself. Au revoir, my lovely. I love you. Constantly and always, your Phil.